Welcome back to First Things First, and we welcome in Greg Jennings. Greg, how you doing?
Nice
to be here.
Good to be
Dressed in your Sunday's best as always.
We learned a little something new about Greg today. Greg has a son, a 5-year-old, who's not a Packers fan. Instead, is a big-time Bengals fan.
Yeah.
So that's the one.
Yeah, I have no idea where it comes from, but...
I told you, man, he looks up to Vontez perfect.
Not at
Wish
all.
his daddy was tough, too.
No. Well, anyway, we're big Greg Jennings fans here. Let's talk a little AFC. No pressure or anything, but the AFC's top spots are on the line Sunday. Steelers and Patriots. Ben Roethlisberger coming off one of his best games of the season. Tom Brady coming off probably one of his worst, but the Pats rarely play two bad games in a row. You could toss history and future aside when it comes to this matchup. Here is Big Ben on if the lead up to this game has a different feel.
Not for me. Maybe because I've been around here long enough. I've seen a lot of big games, been in a lot of big games. For me, it's this week. It's the biggest game of the week because it's the game this week. I know everyone has been building this up because of the records, the teams, things like that. But for me, it's about this week and the team we play, and they're the best in the world.
This is going to be a fun one to watch. We're all excited about it. It's hard to say what's going to happen. We've gone back and forth over the last couple days. What do you think is the key to this game, Greg?
When I look at the Pittsburgh Steelers being the home team, obviously they want to save face at home, but they have to apply pressure to Tom Brady. We saw it last week in Miami. Miami only got to Brady twice, but they got after him all night long, which when you look at Tom's body language, he was flustered. He looked confused. He looked lost. And offensively for the Pittsburgh Steelers, their killer bees have to play great. They have to all play great. And they can't Ben can't turn the ball over. He can't force things. Just play take what the defense is going to give you. They're going to give you things with Le'Veon Bell. Take that. And when I look at them also, the one thing that they have done defensively that has really hurt them and allowed other teams to continue to sustain drives is turnovers. I'm sorry, not turnovers, penalties at the worst times. Roughing the passers. I believe they have like 15 roughing the passer penalties. And then when in the secondary, they're defensive holdings or pass interference. It's things like that that allow teams to continue to sustain drives against the Pittsburgh Steelers. They can't have these types of deals Sunday. When it comes to the Patriots, you can't allow them to get pressure on your quarterback. That's who you are.
Yeah.
Tom Brady is who you are. If he's not standing up right and he's not walking off the field Sunday with a clean jersey, they will not win. And you got to get Gronk in the game. You just got to get Gronk in the game.
Off of 2 points that Greg makes, they're very good points. Tony Corrente is the referee for the game. Tony Corrente is going to protect Ben Roethlisberger and Tom Brady. Also, look at all the fisticuffs that have gone on in the NFL the last 4 weeks. So you can believe in the game of the year, they are going to make sure that it is a clean game. So these quarterbacks, like you watch the personal fouls, watch third down, incompletion, personal foul, drive continues. And how many times that leads into points. Rob Gronkowski, outside of a quarterback, he could be the best player on the field. And if he is, not only in the passing game, because they have no one in Pittsburgh secondary that can guard him or match up with him, but in the run game, especially with Pittsburgh, sometimes a 34 front, sometimes a 4-man front, that end of the line blocking, because New England, have to run the football. So one of the biggest keys, watch the referee, Tony Corrente, how he calls it for the quarterbacks, but Rob Gronkowski, because Gronk put them in this spot. They would have a little cushion if the knucklehead doesn't get suspended and he's in Miami where they don't convert any third down. So to think that Miami game isn't different without Gronk kind of owes this team a little something. So he had a little built-in bye week last week. I look for him to come out and have a monster game.
While we're talking about the referees and Gronkowski, we see in the NBA a lot, a coach takes a technical to try to change the way the game is being officiated, right? Or talks about the officials before game. We've seen Greg Popovich a lot try to almost precondition the refs to what's going to happen in the game. Will there be any effect of Rob Gronkowski's rant. Forget the cheap shot. He got suspended for that. Rob Gronkowski's rant. I'm getting held. I'm getting off, and I'm getting pass interfered with.
No, this game will be called like a playoff game for the wide receivers. Won't be called like a playoff game for the quarterbacks. So they will let them grab and clutch a little more down the field than you would normally see.
I agree with you, CC. And with that, on the Steelers side of the ball, they missed a player last week too. Juju Smith-Schuster, who has been a huge part of their offense. With him out there on Sunday, as well, Martavius Bryant has to play better. He has to step up. But we all know what Bill Belichick is going to try to do when it comes to.
Are you worried about Martavius? Because he wasn't in practice on Wednesday.
I'm not.
I mean, no. This is the thing. Where is he? He's not injured. The coach gave him a day off. Now, would that concern you with the biggest game of the year?
It would concern me. It would definitely concern me. And I think when I look at their makeup, they trust Juju Smith-Schuster just that much. That, you know what, Martavius, you've been inconsistent. We've given you opportunities when Juju wasn't on the field. You haven't stepped up to the plate. You haven't become the player that we saw a couple years ago. So Juju is that guy. And when I look at Ben Roethlisberger, and we've all talked about Antonio Brown's targets and amount of targets and amount of opportunities, he will get his, but Juju Smith-Schuster will play a huge role in this game.
Who needs the bigger game for their team to succeed, Ben Roethlisberger or Tom Brady?
Tom Brady. Tom Brady definitely needs the biggest game. He has to have the biggest game. When you look at what took place last week, he didn't have a great game, and they look.
He doesn't have Le'Veon Bell. He can hit it 25 times.
Yes, absolutely. He has to do everything. When you look at Ben, he can hand the ball off. Even though the Patriots have a pretty good run defense,
right?
They don't give up a lot of rush defense. But when you look at the Patriots, outside of Tom Brady, everything starts with him. It doesn't. They can't run the ball. They don't do anything special defensively. They don't create a ton of turnovers. They don't score off their turnovers. So when you look at what Ben does, he can just hand the ball off. He has a lot more options, a lot more talent. Again, talent is one thing when it's on the field and when it's not producing, like a Martavius Bryant and all of that.
Right.
But when it's effective, like an Antonio Brown can be, like a Le'Veon Bell can be, like a Juju Smith-Schuster can be.
Yeah.
It's something to have on your side.
All right, Greg, stick around for a second. Coming up, Aaron Rodgers is back, but will it make a difference against the Carolina